What's going on, people? Welcome to the United Stand. It is the evening show. What day is it today? Wednesday night show. Couldn't remember what day it is, man. Me and Ricky's in the basement. Ricky's in the new studio. Look at Ricky. Feeling good?
You okay?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. All you need is a green screen and you're in here. But other than that, all good. Been watching the first half of the Arsenal game, which I'm sure everyone has been doing. They're 1-0 down thanks to Theo Walcott. Just keeps going from bad to worse today. But we're going to talk about quite a bit tonight. And the main thing, we're going to talk about the reaction to some of Solskjaer, what he's been saying in the press conference and going forward as well. I'm going to talk to Ricky about the state of the table. And I am going to say to him about a title race. I'm going to talk to him about that. You look at the numbers. Ricky's a very factual man, numbers man. And the facts say we're in a very strong position. So I want to talk about that with Chelsea losing yesterday. And we'll see what happens tonight after this with Spurs and Liverpool. And the main thing is Solskjaer's tactical nightmare, Rick. And I call it a nightmare because I think it was the game before Manchester City. You did a video, didn't you? Yeah. And you were basically talking about, playing a 4-4-2. And Solskjaer went on to actually say that was a 4-2-3-1 we saw against Manchester City. And I don't think it was. But 4-4-2, Ricky, I mean, you called for it. You was one of the people who was very happy with the performance against Manchester City, more than happy with a point, but more so happy with the performance. So we're going to delve into that, Rick. What are you saying?
I was happy with the performance, but it was more so that I was happy that he went with what I would just call a sensible lineup. We often play with too many players up the field. That's why we were getting beat so often by teams, particularly owned by Palace. And I know against Spurs we had a man sent off, but we were just playing with too many attacking players. So he's gone more sensible with it. And like you've just said, he called it 4-2-3-1 today. And to me, whenever you play 4-2-3-1, or when you play the diamond, by the way, when we played the diamond against Arsenal, Pogba was going out to track Bellerin and then coming back in and then going out to track Bellerin again. He ended up giving it. I think his foul was on Bellerin, in fact, that gave the penalty away.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So you two wide players, if you can see me, your two wide players who are on the side of the diamond, they both end up going tracking the fullbacks. So, as far as I'm concerned, it sort of morphs into 4-4-2 anyway. As far as I'm concerned, it's more or less one and the same thing, 4-2-3-1 or 4-4-2, because the two outside men of the three, they've got to track back. You can't just defend with six when the opposition are gone. They've got to track back. They become the wider players when you're defending. And then you've still got your central man, which in our case is usually Bruno, and your number 9. So I get that he wants to call it that, but certainly against City, it was 4-4-2 more than it was 4-2-3-1 because it was like a bank of four. You can look at it. You can look at almost any point of the game if City have got the ball, and you can just look at the screen and you can see two banks of four. Your back four, your midfield four.
That's how I saw it. I was really surprised to see him say 4-2-3-1. I do think he was kind of overcomplicating it because I saw literally Bruno next to Rashford, and then I saw Mason Greenwood on the right. I saw Paul Pogba on the left, and then I saw Fred and McTominay as two central midfielders. I couldn't because when you kind of see it from a goal kick or something, you think might not be sure that might just be one passage of play, and you keep looking on it, keep concentrating. I go, no, this is 4-4-2, or if you really want to jazz it up, 4-4-1-1 if you want to get technical.
Yeah.
But it really is it was a 4-4-2. But what I want to say to you, Rick, is with how we play, people were kind of getting on to me a little bit, saying, Flex, you won't accept this boring football and going forward, is that the way to play? And I was sort of saying, look, game by game, and I didn't mind it. I think if you play against teams who aren't as good as City, we can have a bit of joy. Look, Southampton are using a 4-4-2 right now, and they're playing Arsenal off the park. But I do have to think about it because against, say, Sheffield United, Rick, 4-4-2, but does he need two defensive midfielders against Sheffield United, tucked in wingers, not going forward? Do we need that against a team who hasn't got a win all year?
No, you don't have to. You don't have to play it like that. But there's nothing wrong with keeping the shape like that. It's the personnel that you've got in that shape, and the amount of ball that you have. Like if we'd have had more of the ball against City, we'd have been playing with 2 lines of 4, except our midfield line of 4 would have been halfway into their half throughout the game rather than halfway into our half. It's as simple as that. You move up and down the field. If the opposition have got the ball, your midfield 4 can't stand in their half. Obviously, you've got to stand in your own half. And if you're dominating a game, you'll find that you're in their half more. And just touching back on his in calling it 4-2-3-1, I was also interested to hear him say that it's different. Did you hear him mention Juan Mata and Dan James? Because he played a 4-4-2 at Newcastle, and he played a 4-4-2 at home against Chelsea. And in those 2 games, the wide players were Juan Mata and Dan James, and he actually mentioned them today. I don't know if you heard what he said towards the end of it. He said, you know, it depends on your personnel as to actually how it works. He said, because obviously. It made me think, by the way, have these players got a chance of playing tomorrow? I was a bit surprised he mentioned Dan James. He hasn't played for ages.
Yeah, he did, sort of out of the blue. Yeah.
He said it's different when you've got Dan James on that side. I was about to say the wing, but I'm not 100% sure. He said the wing. That's what I'd say. He said, but when you've got Dan James on that side compared to Pogba, it's different. And if you've got Juan Mata on the other side compared to Rashford, it's different. Well, obviously it's different, but when you bring up Juan Mata and Dan James, I'd love to have been there myself as one of the people asking questions, because I would have said to him, well, surely when Juan Mata plays wide right and Dan James plays wide left, surely that's 4-4-2. I would have thought, do you know what I mean? And he's comparing those players to Pogba and Rashford. So anyway, that was what I thought about it.
It will be interesting, yeah, because he was definitely talking about them in a way where it's like, well, no one asked you about them in particular. Yeah. that was a bit weird. But I mean, the reason why I really want to talk about this 4-4-2 is because I think there's 2 sides to the story. I mean, someone said to me, and I'll read you what they said to me, actually, Rick. I wanted to put this to you because I think it was really interesting. This is what they said. They said that, let me just get it up. They said that, obviously, that you say about the 99 team, 4-4-2. You know, you look at how we had it with Bex and Giggs tucking in, working hard. Obviously Cole and Yorkie up front, or Ollie and Teddy Sheringham, whichever 2. And they went on to say that basically the last 3 Champions League winners have all played 4-3-3 with lots of attacking players. And they basically say that the modern game has changed and we're no longer playing the same game as 99. So have we not got to take that into consideration where, okay, yes, back in the day, we did have 4-4-2. It worked. We won top honours like that. But if you look at the top honours that are being won in today's game, very rarely is anyone playing 4-4-2. It is 4-3-3 with, you look at Bayern Munich, and I know they've got great players all over the park, but they play with a lot of attacking players. You look at who else has won the Liverpool, who won the Champions League season before. They play a 4-3-3 with a false 9, if anything, really. In Firmino, they went on to win it, battering teams, doing really well against PSG, doing really well against Barcelona, putting them teams to the sword. You know, PSG getting to the final. You know, what I'm saying is really attacking players. Is that just where football's at right now, or can you see that you know, actually maybe it's a different era? Would 4-4-2 be as good on the big stage?
Well, the thing is, these teams that you're mentioning, they might be naming it as 4-3-3, and it might be put out. You know, when you see the format of it on the screen, they might put it on as 4-3-3. But don't think. I mean, if Bayern have got Coleman, however you say it, and Gnabry on the flanks, don't tell me for 1 second that they're not tracking back. Do you know what I mean? If you was to study them and watch them carefully, you'd probably find it's very similar. Coleman won't be standing on the halfway line. I mean, look, these big teams, they're probably not under pressure very often. But if they're under pressure, Coleman will be back, tracking the full-back, helping his own full-back. Gnabry the same on the other side. And they play. Obviously, they've got Lewandowski up top whenever he's fit, he plays. And then they usually have Muller, don't they? And Muller, you know, if you're going to say that's 4-3-3 and you're going to count the 2 wide players, what are you counting Muller as? If Muller's a forward as well next to Lewandowski, you're playing 4-2. You can't play 4-2-4. Even Bayern Munich could get beat regularly if they don't just leave 2 centre midfielders on the top. Yeah, they can't just do that. So as much as it might be written down like that, and as much as their manager might even say we're playing 4-3-3, my words, them two wide players will be helping behind, and particularly if it's a tough game, you'll regularly find that when they're defending, there's only Lewandowski up front, and even Muller drops back in to help out, doesn't he? He's playing like a number 10, really, isn't he?
He's number 10 now, yeah. He's off the front.
And the same with Liverpool. If you watch, particularly Mane, but similarly, not quite as much, but similarly with Salah, Mane's as good as any left-sided midfield player as there is. Oh. He's always back there helping. So just to say they're playing 4-3-3, even though you're saying it is in this day and age, they do say 4-3-3 a lot, and it is written down a lot. And when they put the format of the teams out, you do see it as a 4-3 and a 3. But you could equally put it as a 4-5-1 with just the striker up front, and the two wide players are actually tracking back a lot. Do you know what I mean? Even when we played City, they've got Jesus up front. If in the bits of play that we had control of the game, you'll see Sterling helping the fullback out. It's a simple. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So really, what we're shifting the conversation onto is actually it's not so much to do with how Sky Sports set the players out before the game when you see them 4-2-3-1 with a number 10, or the fans saying this is what it is because this is where they're standing. Is it more to do with the shape off the ball?
Yes, definitely.
And the defensive shape.
Yeah. To me, you should look at the shape of the team when you're defending. That's the most important area. And when you're defending well and you've got your shape right, the players can break quickly, and you can end up being more dangerous from breaking quickly than you can from being dominant. And at the same time, if you are spending lots of time up the field, if you're in a game where you're dominating it and you're in their half nearly all the time, those players will be higher up. Of course they will be higher up, but they can't. I think the important thing about the shape when you're defending is that's what you've got to look at. There's no point saying you're playing 4-3-3 because is that going to mean when we've got lots of defending to do, if we're absolutely getting pummeled, we're going to have 3 players stood on the halfway line? Because we ain't. Nobody's going to have 3 players stood on the halfway line, apart from us when we played Spurs, when we played Palace. Do you know what I mean? It was like I've said this to you a few times. It was like a 13-year-old boy had picked the team. You've got Rashford up top, you've got Martial up top, and you've got and you had Greenwood at the time playing up top. I've seen one report that says he thinks those 3 are going to play tomorrow. Look, it's a funny old game, Flex, as you well know. I think we spoke earlier about the fact that as much as Sheffield United are struggling badly to get points, they've only let, I looked at it earlier and it slipped me in mind now. I might even have a look in a minute on my phone at the table. But I think they've only let 19 goals in. We've let 17 in. It's not like 2 or 3 goal difference, the amount of goals they've conceded. So don't think that they're getting murdered. They're not getting murdered every week. It's a fine dividing line. Do you know what I mean? So
as you're saying it, we'll get the tape up now. And I was having this with Mark, sort of saying, so Sheffield United, so they've conceded goals against. They've conceded 21 goals.
And how many have we conceded?
And we've conceded 17 goals. Sorry, 17 goals. 17. So it's not much in it.
It's 4 more. And now, don't laugh at this. I'm totally serious. When you're looking at how many goals you've scored, you have to divide it by games. Now, they've played a game more than us, so you can expect them to have conceded a couple more or 1.
Yeah.
Really, it's 2 or 3 more in a manner in the amount of games. It's 2 or 3 more. That's all. That is all. And they're bottom of the league, rock bottom with 1 point. Think about it, Flex. It's not a lot of goals at all.
Well, Mark was saying on the stream, look, I'm not having it. We're 100% going to beat them. They're shites, and I got if they score, they won't even know what to do with themselves. So no, we'll win this comfortable 4-0, and giving it all of that. And I'm saying, look, they don't. I know the last game was against Southampton. They lost that comfortably, but in between that, Liverpool 2-1. They lost narrowly. They lost narrowly against Leicester in the last minute. I think they lost another one narrowly as well. And I'm not trying to give them too much praise. I'm just saying, Tottenham, I think, again, they conceded late, I think, potentially. And we just got to be careful. I mean, going into that game tomorrow, what would you play? What would your team be? And what would your shape be?
I'd stick with 4-4-2, but I'd play with 2 more. When I say more attacking players, you can't be more attacking, really, than than Greenwood, can you? Right? Do you know what I mean? Greenwood was on the right, but you know how much I prefer Juan Mata because he's such a clever player and he's such a. We might have to break them down tomorrow, and I think you've got more chance of breaking them down with somebody clever and cute with his passing than you have with Greenwood trying to cut in. I thought Greenwood played great at the weekend, by the way. I said this on the fan camp.
Yeah, he did. He did.
He played a mature game. He was told what he had to do. I've watched the game back, Flex, and he did it superbly. I thought he had a great game. Now then, it's different playing in a game like that than then going to a game where you're dominating the ball. And if we're dominating the ball and getting in, into their half all the time, look, it can work for you. You've got to think of the percentages, though. I think it'll work less often for you if you're cutting in and trying to have a shot like Greenwood does all the time. I think it'll work less often for you than if you've got a player like Juan Mata who's not thinking about having a shot every time he gets the ball. He's thinking about who he can pass it to and who's in space. If he can get maybe Wan-Bissaka in round the back, or if he can feed it into Martial's feet if he's at number 9 in the penalty area. If you hit Martial's feet in the penalty area with accurate, well-weighted passes like Juan Mata does so often, Martial wins lots of penalties, for example. Just a little thing, but he's got to give ball. We've got to give the ball cleverly and cutely around the edge of their box. If they're camped back, it's not. Before I say it, it can work. But it might be tomorrow that he happens to bang 2 in if he plays. I'm just saying you've more chance of it working for you in a different manner. That's what I think.
Yeah, okay. Karan says, Ricky, what can McTominay do that Van der Beek can't as a number 6? I mean, is there anything that he can't do apart from, like you say, about the size thing and, putting it about a bit? Can Van der Beek play as a 6?
I counted how many headers he won the other day. 9 headers he won. And in comparison, Fred didn't head. From what I've seen, I might make a say, Fred didn't head the ball once in the match. Now, you might say, well, what's the difference? It can be in a game that it doesn't matter. But, it's handy that you've got somebody in the middle of the field that can win headers. 2 or 3 of his headers were really important headers as well. And he headed a corner away in front of everybody else. He was there. He nicks it off De Bruyne. De Bruyne thought he was just going to control it and pass it. When you're running the team, Flex, and you're watching it, you're desperate for somebody like Kevin De Bruyne not to control that ball and turn. The ball's dropping out of the sky. McTominay had to make about 8 strides up and headed it away from him. And every time you can stop Kevin De Bruyne getting the ball, it's vital. Not as vital in this game, of course, but he is a player that can win his headers. And Van der Beek wouldn't be the same. And 9 headers in a game is a lot of headers. You know what I mean?
So that's basically the main. That's the main.
Well, I'm not saying it's the main thing. That's one thing, but he is a bigger physical specimen. He reaches more just by being taller. There was a couple of interceptions he made that maybe Van der Beek wouldn't have made and Fred wouldn't have made just because they're not as tall. The limbs aren't as long. I like tall players. They can intercept things like that. There was one in the second half. Where a player had the ball on the wing and he tried to cut inside, and you for all the world it looks like he's just going to go inside, and McTominay looks like he's letting him go inside, and suddenly he just sticks a long left leg out.
Yeah, I saw that, and then he ran off with the ball.
Just runs off with the ball. Lots of our other players, Van der Beek perhaps or Fred wouldn't have even got the ball.
McTominay played well. I'll give him his dues. He played very well against Man City, but there's like for the reason why you do like Van der Beek, Rick. I mean. McTominay is nowhere near as good on the ball as Van der Beek. Like, he can't lace his boots for me. On the ball. Yeah, and the decisions that he makes, the positions he can pick up. I mean, look, essentially, they are, is it 2-1? Is Arsenal winning 2-1? Arsenal just got a red card.
Arsenal have?
Again.
Never.
Yeah. Gabriel, what's this? Who's got sent off here? I can see a little red dot at the top.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, I can see it.
Who's got sent off for Arsenal? Bloody hell. And then now Nathan Redmond's coming on, the Poundland Hazard, as Mark calls him. Yeah. Wow, Arsenal just discipline problems all over. Gabriel, red card. Forgot my train of thought now. Maybe we should do a watch along for that, Rick.
Yeah. We're talking about what McTominay gives.
Van der Beek, like McTominay can't lace his boots for on the ball. Van der Beek's played in Champions League finals, and I know that semi-finals, and I know that look, McTominay hasn't reached one yet. That's just being a bit pedantic. But what I'm saying is the experience and the quality that Van der Beek possesses, he's leaps and bounds ahead of McTominay for me.
I would agree with you, but if I wanted to play a central midfield player that I wasn't that I didn't want to be bombing forward, and I didn't want him to be in the box too often, because the shape of your team, Flex, defensively, and when I say defensively, anybody in the comments, before you ask, I don't mean when we're defending outside our own box. I don't mean when we're defending near the circle in our own half. I'm talking about the shape of the team. If you're dominating the game, you need at least one player, in my opinion, and probably two, who are 10 yards, 15 yards outside their box, doing numerous tasks. One thing that they're there for is if a forward's got the ball and is in a bit of trouble, he can just roll it back and you keep possession. If we're putting crosses in and they're heading it out, you need somebody who's going to be there, who's going to control it and pass it, keep us in possession, keep us on top. You need players in that area of the field. And Van der Beek's more like a player who's going to go into the box, try and get on the end of things. And McTominay is more of a player who's going to wait outside the box and win headers, if you like, or win the ball. When I say win the ball back, I don't mean win tackles. I mean, they're just heading it out, and you need somebody to be there who's going to receive it and collect it and pass it. And I like the shape of the team with two players who are playing in that role. If you've got two wide men and you've got a number 9 and a number 10 who can be in the box. If you develop a move down the right, say, then you want your left hand, like Giggs used to do. He used to score some headers. Ryan Giggs coming in from the left wing. Do you understand what I mean? So if you're developing an attack down the right, the players who you need in the box are your number 9 and your number 10 need to be attacking the goal, and your number 11 needs to be coming in towards the back post, not really beyond the back post in case it goes too far and you can check back out. But you need your number 11 coming in near the back post. So you've got 3 men who are in the box available, and then you want a couple of men just outside the box. Well, you can only play 11, right?
You always say that.
So you've got your back 4, you've probably got your full back. Certainly your full back will be up on the side that you're trying to develop it in, and then maybe your full back on the other side's a little bit. Probably your full back on the left would be up level with the 2 midfield men. So you've got 3 men that are keeping them compressed. 3 men that are going to try and receive the ball when it comes out, whether it's a pass or whether it's a clearance or an header. Do you know what I mean? So you don't need everybody running into the box, and you also don't need those players to be particular. You've got to be able to control it and pass it like McTominay can and like Matic can, but like most Premier League footballers should be able to do. They've got to be able to control it and pass it, but they don't need to be, as they call it, particularly creative. You know, usually when that ball comes out, you can control it, you can turn to your right, your full back's still on, you give it your full back, we try and get the ball in again. You know what I mean? And so I just like the team shape, and it keeps the pressure on the opposition. And I think, and let's be honest, most of the top teams, they've got players who don't go bombing into the box. Liverpool usually have Henderson doing that job, and probably Fabinho before. I think he's playing centre back now. I'm not sure. But if it's Henderson, I think Wijnaldum is the one who maybe gets in the box, isn't he? But if they've got Henderson and Fabinho, or Henderson and Milner, or Henderson and Ketia, they'll probably be waiting outside. Is he called Ketia? You know the one.
Keita.
Yeah, Keita. They'd be hanging out of the box a little bit. You know what I mean? No point you're all going in the box. They're going to break. You end up conceding goals rather than scoring goals.
Amiri says, "Hey Ricky, love you, man." For the super chat.
Nice one.
Love showing to Ricky. It's Eamon says, Ricky for assistant manager. And Vintage United in the free seat says, I love this game in true Evra fashion. I think the key with this is, right, and I think this is what I think matters when you're talking about this 4-4-2, right, and playing like about team shape and things like that. I actually think within reason, and hear me out, guys, because you might think that's absolute waffle, because if you do that, near enough, because not all, a lot of formations can be very positive depending on how you play them. So, for instance, everyone says the 5 at the back thing, right? Antonio Conte won the league playing 5 at the back. I remember when he went to Arsenal, when he was at Chelsea, right? And they lost quite heavily. I think they lost 2 or 3-0, right? And the game after that, he changed to a back 5 for the rest of the season. I think he had Victor Moses, right wing back, turned him into a right wing back, and obviously Marcos Alonso at left wing back, I believe. And he had a solid foundation, and he went on to win the league because in that system, he played the right way. So I think no one said then that when Chelsea won the league that, and it was on the last day against West Brom, I remember it. No one said then, oh, they're crap, it's negative, boring football. They were scoring quite a lot of goals, creating a lot of chances. It depends on the system. It depends on the manager, which is where I think we do fall short, because in a lot of our systems, I think we can play more attacking, expansive football in the right way. It's just that I don't think we do it in the right way because our coaching is not there. Ollie, I don't think, has that side of it yet anyway. Yes, we're in a good position, and we'll talk about that in the second half of the show about where we're at and, the forecast. But I mean, in terms of sustainability with how we play, when Ollie plays a back five, normally it means that we're not going to have the ball much. We're just going to sit in, counter-attack, and not create many chances. It's quite negative. When we played the 4-4-2, don't get me wrong, we stayed in the game and we limited City and cancelled them out, but they kind of cancelled us out as well. We wasn't, Martial, Rashford hardly got on the ball as much as he would. Mason Greenwood probably didn't have as much chances as he normally would in a more open, expansive game. So it's kind of like you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. What we lacked in trying to run forward and have more space and create more chances, we gained in stopping the other team having loads of chances and protecting Maguire and protecting Lindelof and the fullbacks not getting overworked. So I get that. So I just think we can play almost any system if you've got the right tactics. I just think the tactics are wrong. If we played a 4-3-3, then the tactics would be, like you said, Rick, okay, when we have got the ball, and we're using the ball and making good choices and playing with intensity, we can play a 4-3-3. I want 3 high forwards. You guys are going to interchange and give them so much to think about. And Bruno and just behind you, him and Pogba are going to keep the ball so well, and we trust ourselves that they're going to be camped in there after, and we're going to create chances. But when we don't have the ball, we're all going to fall in line into a 4-4-2 very quickly, very structurally, and win the ball back. So I just think it's about the tactics less so than the formation. Because if they get the tactics right, any formation can look amazing, even with players who aren't as good as ours.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. 100% agree with you. You can pick your formation, but the form, like I've used that word before, the formation sort of morphs into different formations, doesn't it? If you're playing 4-3-3 and you tell your wingers whenever they've got the ball, we've got to drop in, then it becomes 4-5-1, doesn't it?
There you go. There you go.
So, yeah, 100% agree. It is the tactics and how they play. Now, I think our tactics when we were playing 4-3-3 earlier in the season were absolutely abysmal. And we had Greenwood and Rashford on the flanks, Martial at 9, and Greenwood and Rashford. I mean, I know Greenwood was told what to do at the weekend and did it superbly, so he could do that again. But when he's actually playing in a 4-3-3 and we were playing against teams, that's another difference, Flex. When you're playing against teams that you think you're going to beat, that doesn't help.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Mason didn't. That sounds daft, that doesn't it? You think you're going to win, and that doesn't help. Do you know what I mean?
But I know what you mean. Yeah. When you have
against Crystal Palace the first day, I remember doing the fan cam with you afterwards. Dan James got subbed at half time, and I said, "Yeah, but it was only 1-0 at half time. It went worse in the second half." Do you know what I mean? Got beat 3-1 in the end, and Mason Greenwood came on for the second half. But what happens is, Dan, and I'm serious about that. Dan James is somebody who plays that role. He just knows exactly what to do as a winger. He might. I'm not saying he's Ryan Giggs.
Basic footballer. That's why. It's because
he just knows where to be, and you're playing in the right manner, if you like. But when we were playing those games, and the same against Spurs and the same against Brighton, we were so lucky at Brighton. But we were playing with Greenwood, Martial, and Rashford, and then also we were playing Bruno as one of the. And look at Bruno where he's playing now. That shows you how naturally attacking he is. He's one of our forwards now.
He is, yeah. He's playing that high.
Forwards. So we were really playing with, so when he plays in midfield, I said at the time he's playing too far forward. Look, I'm sorry for saying it again, but it was like a 13-year-old boy had picked the team. We had too many forwards. We were bound to lose. And I've seen one of the papers today has said they expect Greenwood, Rashford, and Martial to play, and they expect Bruno to play. Now, look, on the odd occasion, I'm talking about sustainability here and being able to challenge for trophies and being able to remain high up the league. So we might go and batter them 4-0. It could happen. But I think if we play tomorrow with Greenwood, Rashford and Martial all staying up the field, plus Bruno's playing, I think it makes it a dead even game and we might get beat. I really do.
Well, I don't know. It's weird though because this is where you kind of do have to look at the opposition, and the people know my thoughts on tomorrow's game. I don't take anyone lightly. You know, Fulham nicking a point off of Liverpool tells you everything you need to know about this league. There are no easy games. I don't care who. And you know what? The teams who are down the bottom, really, really struggling, they are difficult teams to beat. Fact. You know, that is how it goes. But what I will say is that they're not going to have a lot of the ball. That I can't see them opening us up on a counter attack. The way they're playing, you're thinking a set piece. They're not going to dominate the ball. So maybe we will, if they do have Rashford, Martial, Greenwood high up, maybe it might keep them camped in because their tactics will actually be to just be camped in, if you get what I mean.
Yeah. That doesn't necessarily mean look, we probably will win the game. We probably will. But like you, I don't take anybody lightly.
No.
If you've got too many up the field as well, Flex, you also take up each other's space as well. Some strikers, they like that little bit of space around them. And when there's space around them, they're looking for space. And if you've got other of your own teammates up there, they're taking up space as well as the defenders. You know what I mean? You're trying to find a bit of space, so it can be too packed. It can be. I mean, imagine if you played with 8 up there, you'd never get a kick of the ball. So you've got to try. It's a fine balancing act. You've really got to get your balance right of how many forwards you've got and how many midfield players you've got, and you need enough midfield players to dominate the midfield. Whoever you're playing against, you need to dominate. You won't dominate the midfield with 1 or 2. You've got to have at least 3. And if you're playing 4-4-2, your 2 wide men are normally I call them midfield players rather than wingers, like Beckham, Keane, Scholes, and Giggs. It rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? It's the 4 midfield players. So you dominate the midfield, and that allows you to dominate possession. It allows you to dominate territory, so you can stay.
So you get a foothold in the game.
Exactly. Yeah, obviously, if you've got the best players, you'll dominate the territory as well. And you only need 2 players in the box, and maybe 1 coming in from the other flank when you've got it on the flanks. You know what I mean? And the odd burst forward by one of your midfield players. That's another thing that I've always said about McTominay. He does get a few goals. He nearly scored the other week, didn't he? Was it West Ham? He hit the side net. He got 8 goals last year, and I think if he was playing every week and we had the right shape, I think McTominay would get 6 or 7 goals in the league in the season. It won't be.
Well, he had a couple early on last year, and you're thinking, you know what? He had one. Remember, he had a really good one at Norwich, good finish. One against Arsenal, top corner. He had one that he bundled in against Brighton, I want to say.
Correct.
And so he has got a little bit of and that obviously the one against City. So yeah, he can get goals here and there, and he can arrive late sometimes. Third man run. But tomorrow, Rick, actually, should we be going with 2 defensive midfielders though? Surely we can play. I think you're
looking at it in the wrong manner, Flex. Let's try and stop calling them defensive midfield players. They're going to be attacking midfield players if we're in there half.
Because we're talking about tactics. It doesn't matter whether it's McTominay or
dominating the ball, dominating possession, dominating territory. I'd give. I prefer Matic anyway. And Fred also got a knock. I don't know how he survived. He was down twice, wasn't he, in the first?
Yeah.
It might well be time to give Fred a breather. I would go with McTominay and Matic as my 2 midfield players.
Oh, I wouldn't do that, Rick. I wouldn't do that.
I've got no problem with it whatsoever. They both pass the ball well enough. They both find people's feet.
You know what? I'll do a Rick with this one. You probably could. Look, no disrespect to Sheffield United. You can play McTominay and Matic. We could probably still win easy, to be fair. I'll do a Rick. You can play them 2 and still win. But the feeling I get for the game, if I'm thinking of a team that's sitting back, camped in, Matic, yes, because he is very good on the ball and makes simple passes and quick passes. McTominay, I think that's his biggest defect in his game, Rick. I would go with Matic. If you're going to put Matic, I need someone else who's going to be fizzing passes. I need a Pogba next to him, or I need Van der Beek next to him, or Fred. I'd go Pogba and Fred for that game. I don't mind that, but that's never been a matchup, a partnership that Ollie's even really tampered with, so I can't see that happening. But I would, if I saw McTominay and Matic, my gut feeling, and I could be completely wrong. Every game has its different kind of life, but I would just be worried that it's just too safe.
Flex, we just spoke about how many goals they've conceded.
Yeah.
How many was it? 21.
Mm.
And I think they've played 12 games. Yeah, so they're not, 24 would be 2 a game. So, all right, it's nearly 2 a game, but it's not even dead close to 2 a game. It's nearly 2 a game that they're conceding on average.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've only scored. Have you got it up? Can you get it up there? I think we've only scored 19 goals in the league.
Get up here. Let's get the table up. We have scored goals for. We have scored 19 goals and conceded 17. So yeah, we're on +2.
So I know they're bottom of the league. I know we're near the top, but they've probably been beaten by 1 goal by plenty of teams that are around us in the table. Do you know what I mean? Let's not think that we're better than we are. They've probably got beaten by 1 goal by plenty of teams they've probably been beaten by 1 goal by at least one team that are above us in the league. Do you know what I'm saying? So don't start thinking, we've got to play all these players or any of these players because we need to be able to score a goal. We will be able to score a goal whichever of our players play. And it might be that we only score 2, and it might be that we only need 2. And if we get those goals early, if we get a goal early in the first half, we might end up scoring 3 or 4. But I believe you've got to set yourself up like you have in any game that they're not going to score, which they're not scoring any goals anyway. And we need to dominate the play, and we need to try and get a goal as early as we can. And don't worry about whether you can score. You think that because you've got, say, Pogba and Van der Beek in the middle of the midfield, that we've got a team that can score 4 or 5 goals against them. They've not been conceding 4 or 5 goals. It could happen. Of course it could. If they both play and we score 4 or 5, you could say to me, I told you.
I'll be going, sit down, Ricky.
If you play them again, it won't happen. Do you know what I mean? So I think you need to think that at best we're going to win this game 2-0. Now, obviously, we want to do better than that in the end, but we can win this game 2-0 with McTominay and Matic in the midfield, and we can win that game 2-0, and we can stopping them scoring. It sounds so defensive. I'm not talking about them being back. I'm talking about being in their half and stopping them having any breakaways, stopping them getting any give them a free kick around the halfway line. They might put it into, you can get goals from all sorts of things. They can put their big lads up. They can put a ball in the box. They might win a corner. From the corner, they might score. You've got to stop all things like that happening. If their keeper's kicking it long, if you've got McTominay and Matic challenging for the headers, they're not going to win as many headers, and you're going to go back towards them more quickly and give them less chance of putting pressure on us.
I think some of it stems from as well, when you're up the right end of the table, or just that whole Man United thing. If we're facing bottom of the league who haven't won a game in 12, there's that kind of arrogance as a fan of a club like United that we have, which is like, well, we should be sticking 4 past them. I don't care. Do you know what I mean? But that doesn't actually always happen, does it? And you shouldn't always actually think like that. So we just need to get the job done with, Leicester are losing 2-0 at the moment. You've got Liverpool, losing 2-0 now. And that's in the 80-odd minutes. So they're probably going to lose that, you'd imagine. Liverpool, Spurs coming straight up after this. Someone's dropping points. Chelsea lost yesterday. City went on to then draw. I don't even really care how we win tomorrow. I just don't want us to do a Man United and mess it up.
Can I just jump in here, Flex, now that you've just mentioned those results? And I know they're above Sheffield United, and I know they're 6 or 7 points above them, but it's such a fine dividing line. We've just spoken about how many games that Sheffield United have lost by 1 goal. I mean, again, if you've got the table there, I bet Fulham have conceded roughly the same amount of goals as Sheffield United have. Do you know what I mean? I bet West Brom have conceded a similar
amount. Fulham have conceded 22 and Sheffield United 21, yeah.
You know what I mean? And West Brom, you know what I mean? Yeah. West Brom have just drawn with City.
26 they've conceded.
Right, so they've conceded a lot more than Sheffield United.
They've conceded the most in the league.
And they've just drawn with City. And Fulham have just drawn with Liverpool. There's no reason whatsoever why Sheffield United can't draw with us.
Oh, listen, you look at what West Brom very nearly got a draw, should have got a draw out of us. You look at Leeds, they've conceded 24 goals. And they're 14th. They're not even anywhere like in the relegation at the moment. So it does. You got to look at the amount of goals conceded. And if you haven't, teams that have conceded a lot less. You look at West Ham. They've only that's their goal. Sorry, they have conceded. Who's conceded the least? Tottenham have conceded 10.
Right.
That's the least in the league. You know, you look at Aston Villa, they only conceded 13 goals.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I think you have got to look at it like that. Also, what I want to say as well, Rick, before we talk about where we are in the league and the last sort of 20 minutes, last segment of the show, left back for tomorrow, we're going to want to get on the ball and go forward and make things happen. You know, Tellez, surely it'll be a great game for Tellez in terms of his willingness to go forward. I know Shaw's your number one pick still, but could you see a reason for Tellez, you know, whipping balls in from that left-hand side?
I think Tellez would do all right, but Luke Shaw's still my number one choice, and I'll be surprised if Luke Shaw does, unless, I mean, he went down and was down for a minute or so, but still finished the game, didn't he, against City? He was about 15 minutes to go.
I thought he was going to go off. I thought he would go.
I was amazed that he didn't go off. I thought going down like that for a minute at that stage.
I think he wanted a breather because he put his shirt like that, didn't he?
Perhaps he was waiting for a break. Just what
he's saying, hold on, Harry, don't kick off yet. Bloody, I'm struggling. That's what he's probably saying.
Yeah. I'm a stickler for me back four staying the same me wherever possible if it's your favourite back four. So I'd stick with the same back four.
Yeah. Are you buying any of this Henderson and De Gea debate? And Ollie sort of bigging him up today in the press conference, saying that, you know, he's made his England debut now. It's really good for him, and we thank Sheffield United for, you know, giving him some game time, etc., and experience. But do you care with this whole Henderson De Gea, or is it still De Gea for you?
Henderson was a top class keeper, and I think I'd like to keep him happy. I'd start giving him a little bit more game time. I'd probably play him at Goodison next week in the League Cup, but not just because it's the League Cup. I want to get through in the League Cup. You know what I mean? So, you know, I'm sure Ollie wants to get through in the League Cup. He's said often enough how good we were last year for reaching 3 semi-finals. I'm sure he wants to reach 3 semi-finals again. A final would be nice, but you know, I think he's going to want to get through next week. But I'd perhaps play Henderson. What I wouldn't do, I wouldn't play Henderson tomorrow night. You're opening yourself up. I'm just talking about fate here. You're opening yourself up to him, you know, letting a howler in and people saying, wow, you know, he's left Sheffield United to go, you know, I wouldn't put him in tomorrow night. I would keep De Gea in tomorrow night. I won't be again. Look, he needs to get a few more games, and a couple of games in a row wouldn't be bad. I wouldn't mind him playing De Gea tomorrow night and then playing Henderson against Leeds and against Everton. You know, we've got a lot of games coming up.
Well, we said, didn't it? In 16 days, we've got a hell of a lot of games. It's 6 games in 16 days. So we're going to have to lean on the squad. Smash a like on the video if you're watching, obviously, and subscribe if you are new, bottom right-hand corner. Big up to yourselves. As it stands, just because I know a lot of people are watching all the other different games. I think it's 4-2 Leeds now. I think they're high scoring. So, yeah, it is picking up. It is picking up. Rick, are we in a title race? I'm just going to plug in my laptop charger while you say that. So my battery.
Are we in a title race? Mathematically, we are definitely in a title race. There's no point denying it or beating about the bush, if you like. We're on 20 points, aren't we, at the minute? And Liverpool and Spurs are both on 25 points. We've got a game in hand on them. If we win that game in hand and be 2 points behind them, I wouldn't say you was in a title race if you were 2 points behind them and you'd only played 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7 games. But by tomorrow night, we'll have played 12 games and they'll have played 13 games. They'll have played, I know it's ever so slightly, but they'll have played slightly more than a third of their season. We'll be just slightly under a third of the season. And if you're 2 points behind the leaders with a third of the season gone, you've got to say you're in a title race. Obviously, Liverpool have got a lot of injuries, and I won't be surprised to see them get a few players back and then just run away with it. It still wouldn't surprise me. But for the time being, you've got to take it game by game, Flex. We've got to win this game tomorrow. Win this game tomorrow. We're still in a title race as far as I'm concerned, yeah. You never know that game tonight. That could be a draw. If that's a draw...
What game tonight?
Liverpool and Spurs tonight.
Oh, yeah.
If that's a draw, and then we win tomorrow, we'll be 3 points behind them both. Is that right?
Let me have a look now. So Tottenham are on 25 and Liverpool, so they'll be both on 26. And then if we win tomorrow, we'll be on 23. So yeah, we'll be 3 points
behind them with a game in hand. Do you know what I mean? If that's not in a title race, I don't know what is.
It's weird because you know what? Do you know why it's really weird? Because I think the expectations going into this season were not. to win the league. You know, you would have said at the beginning of the season that it's unrealistic to eclipse a 33-point deficit from, you know, third to first in Liverpool. But I think what we're seeing is we're not going to see someone winning the league with those types of numbers again. Clearly, maybe not again, but at the moment we're clearly not going to be seeing it. So what we have to do is look at the here and now. And while there's no fans and football's really odd right now, you've got to look at the facts. And that's why I do think as well with the Oli situation about sacking him and he's not the right man and all of this stuff. Yeah. I get it. He might not be the man long term, but you can only look at where you are now and in the league after a poor start and how everyone else has been inconsistent. We're up there. It's a fact. Yeah, and if we're still up there in January, which it looks quite probable, I don't want to jinx it, fingers crossed, touch wood. But if it gets to January the 1st and we're still, even if we're fourth, but we can see that we're 2 points off top, what can you ask? So how can you sack a manager who's in that position? You can't. You can't.
No, you can't, can you? I don't like saying it. I feel as though I'm tempting fate, but we've got a great chance of still being only 3 points behind the leaders come January. We've got a great chance. They've got, you know, we've got some tough games, but so have they. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the thing that does worry me though is if fans do come back early next year. I think we'll probably be on another lockdown by then. I don't think there'll be too many fans back then. Maybe the odd couple of thousand in a couple of tiers, but we've still got to go away to we played a lot of the big teams at home. So we still got to go to Stamford Bridge, still got to go to White Hart Lane or the London Stadium, well, whatever, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. You still got to go to Arsenal, which...
I hope it goes to all these places with a defensive mindset, Flex.
Yeah, because if we are in a title race by then, just don't get beat.
Yeah, just don't get beat, yeah. Don't get beat, stay within touch.
Exactly, just don't get beat. So I feel like...
I said at the weekend after we drew with City and people were moaning. I can't remember if I said it to you after the game, but I certainly said somewhere that you never know how quick this can turn around. You get that draw and you just stay in touch. You know, obviously it kept us above them. I said, but it's amazing how quick that can actually develop into increasing your lead. If you don't lose to the teams that are around you and then beat the smaller teams, it's amazing that it can quickly turn into a bigger gap just by having not lost to them. And now I know we've still got to beat Sheffield United, but already since we've got that draw with them, City have dropped points again already. Do you know what I mean? It's only 4 days later or something.
Exactly.
So if we win tomorrow, by getting that draw with City, you know, we'll have extended our lead on them by 3 points or something, or whatever it turns out. It'd be 3 points if we win.
I know there's like a lot of if buts and maybe in football, but imagine if we just would have won one of them home games. You know, we've won one home game.
You're looking at it the wrong way, Flex,
I
man.
know. I just can't help it.
Listen. If we'd have played like I wanted him to play, if we'd have just drawn, never mind what.
Even that.
If we'd have drawn with Spurs, they'd have 2 points less. We'd be above them, wouldn't we? They'd have 2 points less. We'd have a point more. We'd be above them tomorrow night if we would. And Arsenal. You know what I mean?
The Arsenal game, even that, I'm just like, that looked like it was going to be a nailed-on 0-0 draw at a point. It was just looking that bad. And then Pogba obviously makes a silly mistake and gives away the penalty. But exactly, it just feels really weird because actually, at a time where we thought we'd be nowhere. Oh, did they score? Oh, at a time where we thought we'd be nowhere near a title race, you know, you just feel a bit weird about it. Actually, this game, I hope this does finish 1-1. This is perfect for us, actually, because I wanted Southampton to, you know, start dropping a few points, because we've got to remember, it's all good us saying, yeah, because we're going to be off this, we're going to be off that. Leicester are thinking the same thing. Southampton are thinking the same thing.
The table, I've never seen a table like it after so many games. Have you got the table in front of you there, Flex?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
How many points are Newcastle on? You're going to laugh now. How many points are Newcastle on?
Newcastle are on 17 points because they just lost.
All right, but they've just lost. But they were 3. Obviously, I didn't know that they just played.
Yeah, they're losing 4-2 now.
If they'd have won tonight, they'd have been on 20 with us, Newcastle United. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you know what? Something that isn't as funny as you may think. You look at West Ham, Rick. West Ham, and now Everton just picked up a big win against Leicester tonight. You know, so we got a battle. It looks like these teams are going to be here to stay. It's all good thinking, oh, they'll fall off, they'll tail off. Well, no, they're not tailing off at the moment, and they've got just as much right. We would just. I know we're the third best team on paper, so we've got the first right to be like, we're going to do it. But you can only look at where you're at now. And you look at the table, there's a lot of teams there. Everton, Leicester, Chelsea, Man City, West Ham. They're all above us. Southampton. And I know it's very, very fine margins, but we do eventually need them to start dropping some points. We've done our job by beating West Ham, by beating Southampton, but if they keep going from strength to strength, it's going to be more difficult. So
yeah, it's just unbelievable how tight it is all the way down to about 12th, really. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Never seen a table like it after so many games.
Rick, imagine if Ollie wins the league.
I'd be stunned. What I did say numerous times on the Sunday night show was that we haven't got a cat in hell's chance of winning the league if, and it's a big if, I said, if City and Liverpool continue to get the amount of points that they've been getting for 2 seasons. And exactly what has happened is they're not getting the amount of points that they normally get recently, are they? And that's why we're close to them. I mean, I think Liverpool, what did I read? I think apart from maybe 2 points, I think they've virtually dropped the amount of points already that they dropped last season in the whole season.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
It's tight. And we got Leeds after that as well. Now, Leeds are very high scoring, but they leave so many like you talk about having too many offensive players and playing a certain way. I mean, they are leaky as anything. They concede loads of goals. So they're the next game at Old Trafford straight after that. So you're looking at that and you're thinking, get 6 points out of that. It'd be tough against Leeds, but I think we should beat them. You think you should in every game, really. But it just changes the dynamic, and I just want to see us in and around it for as long as possible, and then it's anyone's game. It could be that we get to March, April, Rick, and there's 4 or 5 teams. It could be that between 1st and 5th is 5 points in April. That could happen. Do you know what I'm saying? And if that happens, then it's like battle down the hatches. Who wants it most? Do you know what I mean? Because that would.
Oh, you're right, mate. You're right. I mean, you are right in that it could happen. I fancy Liverpool will get it together and start winning every week again, but I hope I'm wrong. Yeah.
There's been quite a little bit of talk about bringing in some January signings and a lot of outgoings. Some people saying, I saw some reports today saying that Man United could see this as a little bit of a way to get rid of some of the players. But, because they're on big contracts, I heard Jesse Lingard, Rojo, Romero, Phil Jones, these types of players, and also potentially a couple of incomings. I mean, I did see there's been a little bit of rumours about Kieran Trippier coming in as a backup to Wan-Bissaka, like that.
Well, he's a top player, Kieran Trippier. He's got a great delivery into the box. That's one thing what Wan-Bissaka's not got.
Yeah.
I think if they sign Kieran Trippier, I'm not too sure it'd necessarily be as backup. Honestly, I'm not. Especially when you think about the way we've just been speaking about playing against Sheffield United, and I'm saying we need our 2 central defensive midfield players who are going to do that job properly. Some of your width and your good attacking play often is required from your fullbacks. You've just spoken yourself about maybe Telles should play. So if you were playing Sheffield United tomorrow, which we are, and you had the choice of playing Kieran Trippier or Wan-Bissaka, who would you play? I know who I'd play.
Yeah, I thought you'd say that. And because some people laugh. It was KG actually who laughed. KA says, just quickly, KA says these results are all set up for United to be United tomorrow. I don't trust them, man. I really hope we win, but it will be so United to draw. And you know what? That sums up exactly what I was trying to say to Mark and KG yesterday on the show, or whenever we done that show. I can't remember when it was. Yesterday? I think it was yesterday. Because it is such a typical United thing to do. And we just can't afford to mess this up. We just got to go and get 3 points. I don't want to hear anything else. You just got to go and get it done. So for me, that's very, very important. But yeah, I was saying to KG, look, Trippier maybe coming in. He's played at a high level, done really well in the World Cup, got a great delivery. He could actually be better than you think if he was to come in. And people were sort of laughing, but I wouldn't really laugh at that. I'd be all right with that.
Well, we would be laughing at that. If you're laughing at that, you don't understand the game. He's a top player, Kieran Trippier. He's a top player. I mean, I don't know. I've not been watching Spanish football, but I bet he's playing pretty regular for Atletico Madrid.
Plays every game, yeah.
And they're still in the Champions League. I mean, what are we laughing at? You know what I mean? probably 9 of their players are getting our team. You know what I mean?
Would you make any other changes in January, Rick? If you could bring, a certain position in, would you go after a centre half? Would you go after a defensive midfielder, a right winger, a number forward?
We definitely need a centre back, because I don't think we've got the right cover at centre back. They don't seem to be convinced by Axel, do they? He's not getting enough game time at all. If they're not convinced by Axel, I'll say for me, I'm not seen enough of Axel yet, but I've seen enough of Bailey. I'm not convinced by Bailey. I think we need a centre, apart from the fact that he's injury prone as well. I think we need, a centre back, either A, to play in the team, and then probably Lindelof could go on the bench, or even a backup that's going to be sat on the bench every week rather than Bailey. I mean, Axel's a decent cover, but like I say, there's some games where I thought they would have given him a game, and they haven't given him a game, so I don't think they're convinced by him. Do you know what I mean? I mean, if we go back to our heyday of Stam and Jonsson and Henningberg and David May, you was never ever shocked if Henningberg was playing instead for a game. You know what I mean? And we haven't got that, have we?
No, we don't. We definitely don't have that luxury in there. And I just think the jury keeps on continuing all the time when it's Lindelof and Maguire together. There's always that certain type of goal that we can see where we're just like, those two.
Mark asked me on Sunday night. He said to me that, how are you with the two centre backs? And do you think, as I've said a couple of times, of course I agree with that. I said it, but it's about the team shape being right. The centre backs are not too bad when the team shape's right. They've been run from pillar to post in some games, but because we're not defending with enough people behind the ball. That's the main reason. It's not that they're that bad. It's just that you can't do it. You can't defend on your own, if you like, when there's no midfield in front of you. It's just schoolboyish again, Flex, the way we were playing.
Well, yeah, you need the protection, you need the structure of the team, which will. I mean, I believe we play a certain way most of the time to protect those two anyway, because they have got their deficiencies as a pair, and then on top of that, we're just tactically naive, which hopefully, I think that will change. Do you know what I mean? Me personally, I would. Look, Matic is the best defensive midfielder we have, in my opinion, and I think he's nearing the end of his best days. I would love a Declan Rice. I think he's a good player. I don't mind a Wilfred Ndidi. I don't mind someone combative, someone who can pick the right pass, get about the pitch, not just like a Fred can. Someone who actually is good on the ball as well. I think Fred does his thing in his own way, but I would definitely look for that. And we've got to get centre half for me, because you're right. Eric Bailly's not the man. Axel Tuanzebe, he clearly doesn't trust. As much as we want him to get a game, and he's proved it in little cameo appearances and played really well when he's played.
Well, he has, but he had a bad one in Turkey, didn't he? When they took him,
he had a bad one in Turkey. Yeah.
So
I don't think we've seen him since then, have we? Well, he came on late against someone else, I think. But other than that,
he might have come on late as a sub late.
Yeah, this is an interesting question. Actually, need to finish off. Joshua Bowart says, Ricky, do you remember the first United game you went to?
The first game, I can remember the first game I can remember going to, but I'm not 100% convinced it was the first game I ever went to, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a long time ago, a hell of a long time ago. And United played Everton at Old Trafford. It was an evening game. I think it was a 0-0 draw. That wasn't very exciting. I went there. I mean, I was a child. I might have been 10. And I was hoping I went there. To be honest, I can't even say for certain that they all played, but I went there to see George Best, Bobby Charlton and Dennis Law. And as a child, I don't know. I mean, there's more football on the TV these days, and there's computer games and all that, so it's completely different. When I tell you what I'm going to say next, you'll probably think I was an idiot as a kid, but it was different in those days.
I wouldn't think you was an idiot, Rick.
There was no football on TV. You didn't see these players every week like you do today. But I've got an abiding memory of going into the stand and seeing Alan Ball in Everton's team and going, wow, there's Alan Ball. Do you know what I mean? I hadn't even thought about their players.
Yeah.
Never forget that, seeing Alan, because he was a World Cup winner with England, of course. God rest his soul. So he was a real famous player, and he was playing in the opposition, and that's what first took my eye when I walked into the stadium.
A little bit cheeky here, but Kenneth says Ricky was United still. Known in his Newton Heath. When you went to your first game, I'm just kidding. Hope you're having a great day, guys. And look, we're going to finish off now, but now all the questions and super chats need to be coming in for Ricky's autobiography. Ricky, this is your life. Ricky, who was the best player you ever seen live? And that's the last one.
Well, not that he played great on the night, but I did see Diego Maradona live, so I suppose I'd have to say Diego Maradona.
Yeah, I've got visions of Ricky. Imagine if Ricky being 10 years old now, when Matic and Matt are about, and you saw them. Imagine that. Please sign my book. Sign my book. Listen, guys, we're going to end it there. There's a big game about to kick off in Spurs and Liverpool. Hopefully, we get a draw in that one. If somebody's going to lose, who would you want to lose if someone's going to lose that?
I'd like Spurs to win. I'd like Spurs to win. I'd like a draw first, and if not, I'd like Spurs to win. I can see. Yeah. I mean, look, I might be doing Jose and Spurs a disservice, but I can see Liverpool running away with it. I can't see Spurs running away with it.
Yeah, I agree. But at the same time, Jose's getting a bit smug. I wouldn't mind them. You know what I mean? He's tried the mind games with Klopp with all the injured players. I do want him to lose, but you're probably right. Liverpool got more chance of running away with it with a positive result. But a draw would be perfect for us. Guys, thanks for watching. Let's go and watch the big game, and we will see you tomorrow night. Also, the latest member of the members club is Christian. Big up to yourself as well.